All right, welcome back to the 1090 podcast. I'm here with Dustin. Oh man,
You had it.
Diefenderfer.
Got it.
Oh, double D, triple D. Dustin Diefenderfer. One of the best names we've had on the podcast, maybe. Diefenderfer. Dude, I don't think the podcast today, our conversation, we typically talk about grief, but I think in this story, we're not really talking about a specific dead loved. Like, I'm not reading an obituary today, right?
Yep.
Which is great. Like, I would love to have a different. I need a break, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it's heavy sometimes. I'd love to talk about grief with you as well, but excited to hear your story. But because I'm not reading an obituary, can I just ask you some funny random questions in the intro to get to know you, and then I'll ask you where you want to start, and we'll go from there.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
You're a fit guy. Like you eat protein probably. Like you don't mess around. So let me just throw some names at you. Who would win in a fight? Ethan Hunt, so Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, versus John Wick.
John Wick.
You're taking John Wick.
Yeah. For sure.
Why is that?
His shooting skills. It depends like what kind of firearms.
Well, he's a foot away sometimes.
Yeah.
Just often these guys.
Yeah. I like John Wick because Keanu Reeves trains really, really well for all of those movies. So not everyone knows this, but Keanu Reeves is like one of the best shooters in the world.
Like if you gave him a real gun and a real range, he's
you can find like his YouTube videos of him training at his own range, and he's insane.
See, I knew this was a good question to ask you. Like
He's
this Montana guy. This is good. So you're going John Wick.
Yep.
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can keep going. Please tell me. He's a deadeye though. He's a good shooter.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves. Well, and Keanu Reeves is just like this really impressive human. Not only does he train for all those Wick movies so that he can look like a real shooter, he is a real shooter. So he can shoot 3-gun, which is pistol, shotgun, and carbine, incredibly well. Like as well as a lot of like professional shooters that are winning like the nationals in 3-gun competition. But
Tom Cruise does his own stunts. He's jumping off planes and parachuting.
True, but he wouldn't be able to like shoot John Wick fast enough. John Wick would definitely shoot him. But
so kind of what you're saying, like if the actors Tom Cruise got like Keanu Reeves would kick Tom Cruise's ass, is what you're saying.
True. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sure. I respect that. Logic. Okay. Let me give you a new guy though. Okay. So we have John Wick. John Wick or 007.
Ooh, that's a good one. It really comes down to like what type of secret gadgets they have in this fighting scenario. Because like if 007 like rolls up in one of those old cars with like a missile launcher that comes out of the dash,
he's in trouble.
Yeah. I still think John Wick's going to take him though.
Like if they end up in the same room together hand to hand, you're going John Wick.
Yeah, he always kills like 300 people per John Wick.
All right. John Wick or Jack Reacher, Tom Cruise 2.0. Oh. Coming back with Jack Reacher.
I do like Jack Reacher a lot. I think I would still go with John Wick.
Okay, last one. John Wick or Jason Bourne.
Ooh. See, now that's like a serious. Now we have.
This is tough.
Yeah. Now we have a serious battle on our hands. Because like Bourne might just rip that pistol out of John Wick's hand.
If he finds a newspaper, even it's turned into some weapon.
Yep.
A pen. Like it's anything with Jason. With JB,
I could
anything works.
Yeah, I could see like Wick pulling his handgun. And then Bourne like rips it out of his hand, and then it goes to the ground. And then it goes to like hand-on-hand combat, and then I think Bourne's gonna win because Bourne's gonna like roll up a magazine and like hit him in the Adam's apple with it.
So you're going Jason Bourne?
Yeah,
my dad would love you, dude. Like,
Bourne's the man. I mean, Wick's the man.
No, I think you made a very good point. Like you're bringing up scenarios I haven't even thought of. Like, wow, like yeah, I guess. Yeah, should be a good episode today. Music's in, Ryan. Boop, boop, doop, boop. Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% what you're gonna do about it. Welcome back to the 1090 podcast. Life's 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. Dustin, I'm glad you could make it into town. You're from Montana.
Montana.
And I've been to Montana like only a couple times just for basketball, so I just saw the inside of the gym. But how do you like living in Montana, and then how do you compare that to Utah? Like thoughts on Utah?
I love Montana. I mean, I am born and raised up there. I think it's one of the best places in the country for sure. And the people are great. The outdoors are great. The mountains, similar to Utah. But I think that one thing you notice right away is we just have a lot less people in Montana than Utah. Like Montana just barely crossed the million mark for the state. And then it's a massive, massive state. So,
But if you don't like love people, that could be a good thing. Like,
yeah,
right? Like, yeah.
I love like just the remoteness and having like room to roam around and trailheads and stuff where there's not many people at them.
No, I don't know what it was, but ever since like, I've been in grief, I've appreciated the outdoors in such a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it way more than what I used to. And so, yeah, I'm always trying. And Utah's a good place for that. There's always a bunch of places to hike here and stuff. How many times you been to Utah?
I've been down here quite a bit, just to Salt Lake for different events. Mountain Tough is in the hunting industry.
Yeah, I listened to a couple of your podcasts. You guys, talk a lot about hunting and outdoors and a bunch of other stuff too, obviously. But
yeah, so we're down quite a bit. There's always one of like the biggest hunting shows in the country is here every February called the Western Hunt Expo.
Okay.
So we're always coming down for that. And
Nice.
I've been down on like a few different Utah hunting trips, and it's a good state.
Yeah, I think like Montana, like if Utah didn't have the jazz, it'd kind of be like Montana, basically. It's kind of how I see it. I don't know. Like jazz kind of put us over the hump in some ways.
It's grown a lot down here.
Yeah, you're just telling me that. It's grown a lot in St. George, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. How do you like podcasting, man? How long have you been doing it for?
I love podcasting. So this will be our third year of the Mountain Tough podcast.
Oh, so you've been doing it for a while.
For a while.
What's the secret? What advice do you give people who want to start one or do one?
Oh, I don't know. Like for me, I just love bringing on inspiring guests, interesting people. The niche that I kind of went after for our show definitely is like mindset and mental toughness. And then also just inspiring people that have overcome crazy things or have done very unprecedented things. So that left me kind of like a wide open canvas of people I can talk to. So we'll have guests that have tried to break like Antarctica world records, crossing Antarctica on skis, all self-supported, to like Olympic downhill skiers or snowboarders, a lot of special operations, a lot of professional sports, people that have like achieved a lot of amazing things physically and mentally as well. And so getting just to connect with those people once a week is incredible. And then each episode, even as the host, just each time a guest comes on, they always leave you with like a golden nugget that you can apply to your own life. So I love it. I think a key if like someone wants to start is you got to have passion for it, because like you and I were just chatting before we started hitting record, it is a lot more work than I think people think that it will be diving in. And so the editing, the filming, the setup, and then it definitely takes like it takes a toll on you where like when you're done podcasting for the day, like your brain is kind of smoked, you're kind of tired, you got to recover from that episode. And so I think it's more work than people realize. So it's definitely not something you want to go into if you're not really passionate about it.
Yeah.
And then consistency. I think you can't just, do a couple episodes and quit. You gotta think about it from like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta be consistent on a weekly basis for the next 3 to 5 years.
No, I love that. I just did an episode, me and Ryan did with this girl named Haley who lost her baby during delivery. Well, her baby kind of survived the delivery, lived 41 days, just kind of suffering every day, and then died. And it just fucked me up, man. Like that drive home, like just lost it. And then I'm out of town, so I live in St. George. So when I'm up here recording, I stay with Ryan or my parents or my in-laws, just whoever. And I happen to be staying at my parents, and so I go home to them, and they're like, "How was the podcast?" And I just start crying again.
Mm.
Yeah, it's heavy, man, and it's hard to like decompartmentalize it sometimes, and just. I mean, I just met your kids. And you have kids, you have a wife, and so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I can't let this roll over onto them and have this impact our day. And I can't be mad at my kid because I'm mad at this story. And because I can't express it well enough, I'm going to take it out on my kid of how I communicate to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair for anyone. So, and then like, I don't know about you, but like, there's no money. Like, I'm just losing money. And so like, it's hard, man. It's like, it's a tough business, man. So I just wanted to pick your brain, and I liked what you said because I have similar feelings too of the grind of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it is rewarding. I mean, I mean, you talked a little bit about that, like the people you meet. That's definitely one of the cool parts too, is those relationships, man.
Yeah.
I think that's what life's all about.
The relationships are cool too because like long form conversations are fairly rare nowadays.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what if we didn't text each other and we put down our phones and we like looked each other in the eye and we talked? It's like, what? We should record that shit. Like, what? Like, what do we think? And like, yeah, like, what do you
Yeah.
think? We'll call it podcasting. Like, wow. Like, yeah, this is what it's come to. But yeah, it's funny.
It is funny that that's like a rare thing that can actually be recorded now and that other people want to listen to them. But I think it's crazy rewarding, not only from the people you meet, and because it's a long form discussion with a podcast, a lot of the people you bring in for a podcast end up kind of becoming like super good friends, which doesn't happen in any other way. I think like if you were to have called me and I didn't know you at all and you just asked to talk, that would be a super weird conversation.
Who's
I
this
probably would
guy?
have hung up
Yeah.
on you. But if it's a podcast, then we get the chance to meet each other, interact, hear each other's stories, and there's like a bonding experience that happens out of that, which is really awesome. For me, it's been awesome to see and hear from the people that are listening too, because I think as like a podcast host, you're in these studios, you're recording, and you might get an email every now and then, but you don't realize the mass life transformation and difference it's making out in the world. And the difference it's making out in the world is like changing people's lives, stopping people from suicide sometimes, setting people up on like a different life path just because they happen to listen to one episode that maybe a buddy shared to them, and then they end up going through all of your content and listening to all of your content, and they may never email you or they may never like write in, and so there's this population of people that you're helping. And when you like run into one of those individuals on the street or at a restaurant, I think that's like one of the most rewarding things to me is hearing some of those stories, because I think like in this digital world you forget how many people you're impacting sometimes because you don't get to see them and shake their hand, and everything's always on the tech side, but when you meet them in reality it's always like, dang, like I didn't realize it was making that much of a difference.
Yeah. It's weird because like the platform of what podcasts are sent through, so like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, like all these clips that we make to try, bring attention to the podcast to help people. It's weird because like those platforms are so like it's so difficult to communicate to people. Like you might hate someone that you're communicating with on TikTok, but if you met them in person, you'd and had a cup of coffee, you'd fucking love them.
Yeah.
You'd love them.
Yeah.
And like that's what's so like even like all the crazy stuff going on right now. Like if you take both people on either side of an argument and you put them in a podcast scenario, like, hey, listen when the other person's talking, put the phone down, have some empathy, have a conversation, and it almost takes care. And you don't have to agree, but just having that conversation, being respectful, and hearing each other's story, and allowing the art of storytelling to be what you believe instead of having like an agenda attached to it. I think that's my goal. Is like everyone has a story. Let's let them hear it or say it. Let's hear it, and you go from there, man. But it's just weird because like we try to get people to listen to a heart-to-heart conversation through a platform that isn't heart-to-heart. It's just weird to me. It's just a weird thing that we
It's
have
bizarre.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what people love. People love the short clips, and they don't really love the whole episode. I think they love like the short 3-minute segment. And, I don't want to go in the whole rabbit hole of we just want now mentality, but it's very much like that. But I just appreciate. Okay, usually a podcast with ours lasts an hour and a half. Like, let's just sit in it. Let's just sit in the sadness and the unfairness, and let's not try to fix it. And let's just let sadness have its day and respect it. And I like that. And instead of just these superficial, quick conversations, hey, how are you doing? Which really means like, hey, I see you, so I'm not a jerk, but I really got to get going on my other thing. So I'm just acknowledging you. Because if anyone really said like, I'm not doing good, can you help me? They're just going to walk by. Like they're not really interested in how you're doing. But yeah, like those are like most conversations that people have. And so it's hard for me to have those because it's hard to put on the fake mask when you're dealing with grief. I think it gets heavy quicker, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just rambling now.
No, that's helpful.
Yeah.
I know. I think it's a cultural thing too, a little bit, where other cultures are a lot more like community oriented and community focused, and sitting around and just kind of chatting is more common and popular and more tolerated in like different communities. My wife and I, we worked for quite a while in Uganda, and we were over there for quite a bit of time, and like guys are always just like hanging out in front of stores, just like sitting there chatting, and people are hanging out like on the side of buildings, behind buildings, and just kind of like just chatting. And then they're extremely hard workers, but when they're not working, they're definitely, it's all about community. All the meals are together with like extended families often living in the house too, so like aunts, uncles, grandparents. And but then of course it's third world extreme poverty. And I remember one time one of the Ugandan leaders we were working with, after we worked there for a while, we had him come to Bozeman, and we had him come to Bozeman so that he could hang out at our place and like meet some of our friends and family in Montana. And I remember being so excited, thinking like, "Oh, this guy's going to be blown away by America, and America's going to
I
be."
love where this is going.
Oh man, like I thought that he would be like really happy and thought America was so cool and probably like,
You guys have clean floors and
Yeah.
running toilets, and you just thought he was gonna be like, holy shit.
yeah. But I'll never forget. I asked him, I was like, "So what do you think?" And he's like, "Man, I can't wait to get back home." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because, you're just fighting for your life every day over there. And he's like, "Man, I just miss my community." He's like, "I miss just like hanging out at meals, chatting with everyone for hours, chatting with everyone for hours before work, chatting with everyone for hours after work." And, there's not much TV or laptop stuff going on over there at all. They have cell phones, so they're always like texting back and forth. But a big part of it is they're just like a really tight knit community that's kind of like sitting around together chatting. And they've all gone through like a crazy amount of trauma. And I think that community is like what gets them through trauma and grief and like how hard their life has been. I mean, the reason that we were over there was because Joseph Kony, he's this infamous warlord. And Joseph Kony's portrayed in a lot of different movies because he was infamous for building child soldier armies. And so he went through Uganda and massacred 600,000 people with primarily a child soldier army. So if you're a kid, like you either fight for the LRA or you're shot. And so it's not something they have an
So you're
option for.
talking, I mean, how old? Like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14?
A lot of 11, 12, 13 for sure. But I think like that's just before, or that's after you consider how hard it was before that happened. So they already had like the AIDS epidemic. They already had like starvation problems, poverty problems, corruption problems. And then you have like a civil war that creates him coming through, massacring 600,000. But I think like the community is what is keeping them surviving a lot of this like extreme trauma better than if they were isolated. And like Americans are really good at isolating. Americans are like an American male, especially if something's not right and they're dealing with something, like isolating is where they go. And
Yeah, I isolate a lot.
and like as a hunter, I think about that a lot. Where like
Like a cultural acceptable way to isolate is
Yeah.
what you found. Like, but that's what you're doing
yeah,
when you're
and
hunting.
no, I was thinking of like
Wait, hold on. I actually have a comment about what you just said before, or
go ahead. Yeah.
because it's just when you're. Have you ever heard? I think this fits with your story. You ever heard the metaphor of the Mexican fisherman?
No.
Oh man, can I just butcher it real quick? I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to tell it, but I always kind of get it wrong. But it reminds me of the story of your friend visiting you in Montana, and he's like, "I want to go home." Well, but the story is like this really rich guy from New York visits somewhere in Mexico, and he just wants a vacation. He's busy, or yeah, he just wants a break. So this fisherman takes him out, and he is just catching all these fish with him, like just bringing in these fish. And so the businessman from New York talks to this fisherman. He's like, dude, like, you could have $1 million business if you get a couple more boats. And so, anyway, as the story goes, the Mexican fisherman just keeps asking this guy from New York. He's like, well, then what will happen? He's like, well, you buy more boats and you make more money. He's like, well, then what will happen? He's like, well, then you can make so much money that you don't have to work anymore. And then he's like, well, then what? Then what? And he's like, well, then you can go on vacation and spend time with your wife and your kids. And he's like, I already have that. That's already what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love my life. I wake up, I go fish for a little bit. I go home, take a nap with my wife, see my kids, play poker with my friends, maybe have a drink, go back out and fish a little bit. Like, and I just love that whole story. And I think it's so
Yeah.
powerful because I truly think a lot of the times what people are really wanting, they already have. They just have no idea. And a big part of grief isn't you found something new or you learned something new. It's realizing what you lost. Like, for me, I relate to the Mexican fisherman story really well. It was after the funeral with my family. I'm driving home and I'm so lost and sad and angry and confused. And I see this homeless guy with a sign asking for money or whatever. And I see his wife there with his kids running around. They're at the corner of this gas station, Taylorsville, Utah.
Mm.
And I just had a moment like, man, like I would switch places with this guy in a heartbeat. Like, here's my truck, here's the car, here's the things. Like, dude, you are rich, actually.
Mm.
And like, I don't know. I think that's just, those are some experiences I've had. And I think that's something that I liked about your story is the fitness program that you started. I'm blanking on the name right now.
Mountain Tough.
Mountain Tough. Like that wasn't your first career path.
Mm.
If I remember right, reading your story, like you were in something else and then you're like, hey, like this isn't for me. And you kind of started your own thing with your family and kind of kissed that old life goodbye. And I think that's cool too. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that at all, or maybe I just cut you off from what you're about to say, but when you just mentioned that guy visiting you from Montana, like that just popped in my head. I'm like, this is so perfect because this kind of reminds me of Dustin anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought it was worth mentioning.
No, I love that because I think one thing that I've always talked about at Mountain Tough, and I've been talking about it a lot this year more than ever before, and I think it relates to the Mountain Tough like story, how I got it off the ground, but it also relates to like the Mexican fisherman example, the analogy, because one thing that is common in America is that we do a lot of things that our heart isn't telling us to do, but like societal pressure is encouraging us to do. And if you look at like the current state of America right now, it's not great at all. So that's just from like human performance, like psychology perspective. We have like the highest addiction rates of all time. We have the highest suicide rates of all time. We have an incredible high level of anxiety, depression cases and medications. We have like childhood depression and anxiety problems at a massive scale.
Yeah, and getting younger and younger, like happening younger and younger.
Yep. And then we have a lot of like childhood obesity. So like the current like human performance of America's population is not great. And oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes what is leading to a lot of these symptoms is this concept I'm talking about where like we're following society or not our heart. We're following society or we're following like what peer pressure is encouraging us to do, family is encouraging us to do, media, social media. And in my life, that is what happened to me. And then I caught it and shifted to Uganda. And that kind of saved me from going down a much longer, painful path. But what we see a lot of now with Mountain Tough, like our target demographic is going to be like a 44-year-old male that loves the outdoors, does some backcountry hunting. Maybe they're in the military or an LEO, a firefighter, and is often a case for us. could also be a working professional, have some kids at home, and they just want to be like the best they can be. What we see all the time is that, like, if they spent like these 20 years not following their heart, their passions, like their gifting, their talents, and they ended up following what society or the world was telling them to do, they go through like a ton of depression, a ton of anxiety, a ton of suicidal thoughts and ideations. And a lot of that is because they're like stuck in a cubicle doing things they don't want to do, and they don't know how to get out of it, and they have too much fear to kind of like take the risk to come out of it. And I guess kind of like coming full circle on that, what you see with like the Mexican fisherman analogy is so true, because that's what we saw in Uganda that blew our mind right away. Was there are places all around this earth where people are way happier than Americans with hardly anything at all. And so when we first got to Uganda, like the kids running around, like laughing, smiling, playing, the adults like singing with these like huge smiles on their faces, where they are struggling with like famine and civil war and have nothing. They really don't know all the time if they're going to eat tomorrow. So like every day is like a day by day. Are we going to make it? But the happiness and the joy, you can like feel it like as soon as you land, which is a really interesting like dichotomy, where here we have everything that we could ever imagine, but we have record levels
Yeah.
of unhappiness. It's crazy.
I love this conversation. So, I mean, I studied psychology when I went to school because I love the study of human behavior and why we do things. And I read this study on depression, and it was exactly everything you were saying. The guy that came back from these places was like, they don't have time for depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really like they're with their loved ones and they're looking for food, making food, water, shelter, playing like they're literally just surviving and living. They don't really have time. Like I only have 18 Facebook likes.
Yeah.
And the article was just kind of blew my mind because I was like, this is almost hilarious. And here I am just saying the Pledge of Allegiance every day and like USA's the best. And it happened. It's just like, wait, what? Like it just kind of flipped me upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really, really interesting. And don't even know how to make sense of that. So like what should we do? Like we all just sell our houses and try to become homeless like Diogenes, like the philosopher? Like what do we do with that information?
Yeah.
Cuz like here's an example. When Jim Carrey has this famous quote of I wish everyone could be rich so they know it's not the answer. What a fucking stupid fucking give up all your money first.
Yeah.
Give it all up first, Jim.
Yeah.
Or else you're not fucking saying anything.
Yeah.
Am I crazy? But people love it. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, he's what? He's talking the talk, but then actually do it if you truly believe that. And that's just how I feel with us right now. Like, I have a house with a pool. I mean, it's 2,000 square feet, maybe. It's tiny. It's nothing crazy, but like, should I live in a box? Like, what? I feel like we pick up the information.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the cool parts of it. And then the program that you just talked about, that everyone's in, that we're trying to get out of, we just kind of go back into it.
Yeah. Staying out of it over the long
Yeah.
term.
I mean, you guys actually going there is so badass. Like props. Like, way to actually walk the walk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really cool. I've never done anything like that. Like, that's cool.
No, you have the big question though, is like, what do we do with that information? Because we know that there's truth in it.
Yeah, but like, here we are doing the same rat race.
I think one thing for sure is you have to do like what your gifts, talents, passions are telling you to do. for sure. Like if we remove the poverty aspect from it and we just look at happiness once your daily needs are met. So once your daily needs are met, which is going to be most of us in the globe that aren't in a third world location, there still is a differentiator in happiness versus like Americans in other places of the world. And I think other places in the world where you see that stark difference in joy, where they're not struggling to eat every day, but they're not overwhelmed with
Mm.
affluence. The big differentiator is a lot of simplicity. So like their life is more simple. They've scaled back, not even by design, but they have less busyness, less distractions. And I think getting some simplicity back in your life and getting all distractions that you can cut out and finding time to sit alone and finding time for stillness, to think about your day, think about your life, think about how you're going to behave and react today. A lot of other cultures have that just because they don't have 24/7 busyness and distractions around them all the time. So I think that is a big step that at Mountain Tough we've seen help people that are kind of going through this. And it's all interconnected because if I'm if I'm chasing like the Fortune 100 corporate America job because my friends from my hometown will think that's cool and I'll impress them with like a big house and a big SUV, then I'm going to be consumed with busyness. And then when I get those things, I'm going to be consumed with more financial problems, more payments, more
Yeah.
busyness. And so, like, going for simplicity has to be connected to you doing what your heart is calling you to do. And a lot of these things that our heart is calling us to do, they might make a quarter or half of the money or less of the things that the world is telling us to do. But the things that we need to do, that we're designed to do on this earth, are going to give us all that joy that we're looking for. It's not the material possessions that are going to give us all this joy. So I think those two components, we've seen make a difference over the years.
I I was just reading on your website. You made this comment, and of course I'm going to butcher it a little bit, but it's something to the effect of, people start training with us and they think they're just going to get in better shape for a hunting trip or a whatever. But then they discover like they're going to change their lives like we're going to do so much for them.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that a lot. And I have the same thoughts with the 1090 podcast sometimes. Like I hope this was more than just a conversation and really a moment to understand the power of talking about difficult things and how you need to continue to do that. Do you just want to expand on that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by that, and how does that transformation for people happen? Do you think when they're just expecting maybe a little improvement, but then they get this big life changing thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exciting because it's one of the reasons I'm really like excited to chat with you today is connected to that question because when I started Mountain Tough, it was right after we had gotten home from Uganda and we didn't think we were coming home. We really loved what we were doing over there. And then my wife got pregnant with our daughter there and we didn't want it was too dangerous to deliver our daughter over there, we thought. And so we came home to have her delivered here. And when we came home, I knew that at that moment it was a little too dangerous for me to take a newborn baby back over there. And so we were kind of stuck back home without jobs. And it was either kind of go back to the corporate America route, which would have kind of been the easy button, like back at home with this newborn baby, just staying with friends and family. We'd kind of sold everything we had to do the Uganda work.
Which I love. I think that's so cool.
Or it was time to kind of like get this mountain tough thing off the ground that I'd been dreaming about it for years, and I knew there was like a market for it for years. But the Uganda thing and then my life experience, what it really started leading to was I saw that the big separation between people that are achieving what they want or overcoming difficulty is mindset. And so when I launched Mountain Tough, we specifically train a lot of backcountry hunters for these crazy hunts they're going to go on. So they're going to go on like a 10-day backcountry solo Alaska mountain goat hunt. And we want to train them so that they're physically prepared for that hunt. But Mountain Tough, I knew that what they really want, what they're really striving for, is like a different mindset, a different way of life. Because if you look at the people that are consistently successful, if you just take like backcountry hunting as the example, what I saw was the people that, like, archery hunting is really, really difficult. Like harvesting an animal in the woods with a bow and a stick essentially is one of the hardest ways to hunt and harvest your own food. So, like, the success rate of archery hunting is 10%. So, if you go 10 years, 1 out of 10 years, you would harvest like an elk with your bow. So, it's a really, really hard sport. But there's people that are consistent year after year after year. But you can see this in every niche. So, you'll see this in professional sports, you'll see this in professional, any walk of life, guitar, music, art. You find these people that find a way to break that 10% rule where they're just successful over and over again. When I looked at that, I found that it's because of their mindset, especially in hunting. You could see it because when I first started thinking about the hunting thing, like, you have to really grind in the backcountry. So I was like, man, these people that are very consistently successful must be in way better physical condition than their peers. But it wasn't that at all. It was like there was some out of shape people that were consistently successful. And so I was like, oh, it's got to be more than physical. And what you find over time is that their mental toughness, their mindset, or their mental fitness always trumps their physical fitness. And so
That's so cool.
it's awesome.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
And so when I started Mountain Tough, all this started kind of clicking that it's mindset that we're all really kind of chasing. And for us, it was like this positive bait and switch. And that's what you kind of saw on the website with that quote is, we know that a random guy is going to sign up for the Mountain Tough app today, and he's signing up because he wants to get ready to do a Utah elk hunt this September, and he's worried about the high elevation, rugged terrain, and is he going to be fit enough to actually do this hunt? That's what's going to make him sign up. But what we know is he's about to start becoming a better human, a better father, a better employee, boss, friend, because he thinks he's just physically training for this hunt. But we're about to start exposing him and talking to him and communicating to him about mindset, mental toughness, his optimism. We're going to also work on like his nutrition, expose him to like some spiritual health. And so all of a sudden, he thought he was getting ready for Colorado, but he's becoming a different person. And those are those big life transformations we see. And really all that is rooted in that, like, when we got Mountain Tough off the ground, we're like, we're gonna be really good at functional fitness, but we're gonna be one of the best in the world at mindset. And I think the mindset is everything. And I think, you know, Mountain Tough's in year 9 now. And for the first 8 years, I still had a hard time disconnecting it from the physical. So, because if you think about like mindset and mental toughness, a lot of people think about like a Boston Marathon runner, an Olympic runner. Your mind starts going to like MMA boxers, who are these like crazy mentally tough people. And one day on the Mountain Tough podcast, this guy kind of called me out on that when it finally clicked, because he's like, listen, man, my dad is a he's like lost both his arms and both his legs and is in a wheelchair. And he's the most mentally tough person I know. And he's a sheep farmer in South Africa. And he's like, no drought gets his mood down. No famine gets his mood down. When he loses land, he's still optimistic. When he has a good year of sheep farming, he's optimistic. When he has a bad year, it's like you can't bring his joy down, even though he goes through all these crazy hard things and some good times. But it's not because he's like this physical beast. It's because he's this mental beast. And that was the first time it was like a epiphany for me. It's like, man, it is completely separate. Physical fitness is actually a good way to train mental toughness, because mental toughness, we know that one way to become more mentally tough is to repeatedly do hard things. So doing a hard workout every day makes you more mentally tough. But if you're in a wheelchair and you can't train at all, you can still be one of the most mentally tough people on earth. And I was like, man, that's really what we're all kind of like looking for.
I love that so much, because I was just thinking this. I actually was just saying this to Ryan before we recorded, but I said the same thing. Like, it's so funny that we look at UFC fighters or athletes or whoever for mental toughness and perseverance and all these things. And I'm like, Haley Garrison, who I just recorded with, who lost her, like, her mental battle, she's tougher than all. Like, it's so crazy how our society values what people are saying. Like, because I agree with you. Like, the guy with no arms and legs, like, yeah, like, beautiful example of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the exact opposite. Like, usually it's someone that looks like you, like, just shredded, like, does all the things.
Yeah, you think of physical.
Yeah, you think of like these big, strong warriors, and often the times that is the case, but sometimes it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's cool that you notice that and are trying to. So why do you think you would value? So let's say you're hunting, you would rather be more mentally tough than physically fit. And like, can you tell us why? Like, why would that be the advantage? Because you would think it'd be the other way.
Well, I think at the end of the day, mental toughness would trump physical, even though like physical toughness is very important. So a good example of that is, if from a physical standpoint, if someone is in better physical shape, they have to rely less on that mental toughness bank. And so in hunting, that becomes a key differentiator. And so, for example, like if me and you are going to put on like 80-pound packs, and we're going to pack up to the top of like the Wasatch Range from here.
And this is what you do, right? Like, you load them up with, like, this is part of your training.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it in the videos and your pictures you have. Like, you guys are putting on these weight vests and you guys are hiking.
Yep. So what you see from like a mental physical separation is, like, if me and you both put on 80-pound packs, and we just start hiking from here, and we're going to climb to the top of these mountains outside of Salt Lake. We could both get, let's say we both get to the top at the same time, but let's just say for this example, it took 110% effort for you to get to the top, and it took me 80% effort to get to the top. We finished at the same time. What happens is I didn't have to draw into my like mental toughness reservoir very much to get to that top, where you had to draw very deeply into your mental toughness reservoir, and eventually that runs out. And so for hunting, we always see mental toughness trump physical toughness, which is usually what you see. Like if you're watching the Olympics and you're watching like a big competition happen, and someone makes that final push to the finish line, even though they drop to the ground at the finish line and they can't even walk anymore, that's when like the mental overcomes the physical. But what it breaks down to in the smaller levels, we saw really started separating people out. So a more mentally tough person, if they're both equally physically fit, well, they'll like stay out in the woods when the snowstorm comes in, where the mentally weak person would like go back into town, or the mentally tough person would push like further back, where the weaker person would just kind of stay closer to the truck. And all these little things around their mindset, like they would get up earlier, go to bed later. They wouldn't come home early. If they were doing a 5-day hunt, they'd hunt till the last final hour of day 5. And it was their mindset that was leading to more consistent success. And so the like physical toughness is important, but mental toughness was the separator, was like the ultimate card.
If someone's mentally exhausted versus someone who's physically exhausted, does it look different or does it just look the same? Or what's that like pushing people to their extremes? What's that been like to watch?
Yeah, that has been really, really interesting because we've seen.
Because I feel like we're almost doing the Bane thing for Batman. Like, I would sing what would break first, your spirit or your body, or how. That was a terrible impression, but yeah, like those are it's very true. Like, and I think sometimes you can tell like that guy is mentally exhausted versus that guy's I sometimes think there is a difference, and then oftentimes I think it might just look the same. I was just wondering. I don't know if you have any experiences with that.
Yeah, it's it's been really cool to play with a lot of that stuff and see how people will break down and react. And one good example of that is we like special operations across a lot of different selections has a famous way to break people down that they use over and over again in a variety of ways. But it's really interesting when you think about how this connects to life. But one of the well-known ways to see where someone's mental strength is from one aspect is to give them a false finish. And so like in this,
This is so wow. This is fun. Yeah, I'm
oh
just picturing this.
yeah, so like
Kind of mean.
it's it's mean, but it's a really
Yeah.
great way to see how people are going to react and where kind of their mental training is or where their mental fitness is. So like special operations, you'll say, hey, we're gonna ruck 13 miles, and you have to have a 10-minute mile pace. If you're slower than that, you're cut from the course. And so you're
That's
yeah,
fast. Yeah.
you're crushing to try to keep that pace. You get to the 13-mile mark, and there someone will be there laughing, and they'll be like, just joking, like, you got to keep going, this isn't the actual finish. And so what they'll do is like you just hit a false finish, But now they won't even tell you where the real finish is.
So now you don't even know how much longer you got.
Yeah. So they broke you down in two ways right there. Because sometimes they'll say, hey, this is a false finish. If you want to finish this course, you got 5 more miles to the real finish. That's better than them laughing and saying, hey, this is a false finish. Keep going. But like, it's so good because that's what's happening in the real world in our life is false finish after false finish.
I was just about to say, like, that's life though. Like, because you just gave the example of the person pushing everything they got to the finish line, like, and then they fall to the ground with exhaustion. Like, imagine that moment, and then they're like, "Just kidding."
Mm-hmm.
That is great. That's how it is, man. Like, you actually have nothing left. You have 2 more miles, or you don't even know. Like you said, I love that a lot.
It's crazy.
It's like mental tough torture. You're torturing them mentally. It's great. Like, yeah, like you really have to find another level in there.
Yeah. And it was a big moment for me when I saw that you can actually train to a level in that example where you hit that false finish and don't even blink. And so, for example, like in our Mountain Tough class in the early days, this would have been like 2017, 2018. I could have like a 20-person class in our gym, and I could run them through a super nasty workout where it's like pushing them to their absolute max. And then they would finish, and I would tell them it was a false finish. And in that environment, so you have like a general population of people from Bozeman, Montana. You could do this anywhere in the country. In that environment, you would see people like cry. You'd see people break down, lay on the ground. You'd see people get in their car and drive home, be like, screw you, I'm not doing it. And then a couple years later, we went to Ranger Regiment to share knowledge on training and mindset and human performance. And they asked us to lead a workout. And so, like, Ranger Regiment is special, but one of the things they're well known for is their mindset training and their leadership culture and their mental toughness. So I ran essentially the same workout that I'd seen people cry before in Bozeman. It's like super nasty. It's kind of playing all these mind games on you. And then it gets to the big false finish at the end. And they didn't even pause. Like, they didn't even pause to, because a lot of times you're like, hey, false finish, and someone will pause and be like, hey, can you say that again? Did I hear you right? We're actually going longer. At Regiment, it was like, Roger up, got it, and they're going. They're already like running into their false finish. No questions, no pause, no blink. And that was a cool example to me when it comes to like this study of mindset is like, you can actually by training this stuff over and over and thinking about this stuff and applying these principles to your life, you can actually get to a point where you're mentally so strong that a false finish doesn't even create a pause in your psyche.
Yeah, you just.
I was like, dude, that was awesome.
Yeah, but this gave you chills, like comparing those two groups. Like, this group is breaking down, and this group, and then like I think, man, imagine giving that to someone through your training. Like, you witness someone do your program, and you witness them become that tough mentally. I think that'd be such a rewarding feeling for you, right? Have you watched that transition before? Like, these men come in, and you've watched that change in front of your own eyes?
Yeah, for sure. And that's where you start seeing that life transformation and
false finishes, man. I wish I had some more of those in the bedroom. I wish I could last a little longer in the bedroom. But other than that, like, man, I really like this a lot. I think as just like as a basketball trainer, I think I could use that easy tomorrow in what I already do to make it much better. Like, because like I always, as a basketball trainer, I always struggle with that. Like, how do I, like, you can teach kids how to dribble and shoot, but how do I teach them to have a motor? How do I teach them to try, like, toughness.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just not really like, it's really hard to do that. But I think with these false finishes, like providing that false expectation right after they're exhausted, like exhaustion has so much to do with it, I think.
It does. Yeah.
Because, man, exhaustion is very much the feeling I have daily. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I woke up today at 6:15 and I looked at my phone and I'm like, man, like, so many hours. Like, I just woke up and like, I have to live today. I have to get through today. And, when it's 3 o'clock, you're like, oh, I just have, 4 or 5, 6 hours left. But when you just wake up, it's like, how do I fight these feelings of exhaustion? And I just love that so much, man. It's kind of a new concept for me, so I'm just trying to process it and think about it in real time. But I really like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get? You may have mentioned already, but where'd you get that idea of doing these false finishes? Do you remember, or was it taught to you somewhere?
No, it definitely was from when I launched Mountain Tough, and I knew that we had to go after this mindset thing. The first 2 guys I hired for the Mountain Tough team came from special operations. So we hired a Army Ranger, and then we hired a Navy SEAL. So it started with just me, and I started just training guys out of the park. And all my experience was based on backcountry hunting. But I knew we had to tackle this mindset topic, and I knew that special operations was really good at it from a couple different angles. And so the first 2 guys we hired based on the idea of like, how can we get really good at this mental toughness stuff for like the civilian population?
I really like it too because, like, when my family died, like, I want to die. Like, part of me just wants. Not even in a, not even, I don't even mean like in a sad, poor me way. Just like if Courtney Riggins, Frankie Race Rider all went to Disneyland for 30 years, I would just, I'd want to be with them. Like,
Yeah.
and so, like, I just feel like I experienced a mega false finish. Like, we were done, but I actually have to keep living now with just Blue. And the feeling is very much, well, when is the real ending? I'm just waiting for death to hit me. Like, when is it? Can it be today? Can it be next week? Is it going to be 50 years from now? And, like, I feel like that's me. Like, I've just been told false finish. I'm exhausted. I've given you everything I've got. I'm crying. I don't know how much longer it is. It could be 10 steps. It could be 10 miles. No one's ever going to tell me. And what I love is, and this is the whole thing, is like what's in my control, because that's really the feeling they're robbing you of. Is you're my little puppet. You don't even know when this is going to end. I own you. And really, the only freedom you can find in that situation is really having a conversation with yourself. Is like, okay, what power do we have? What are we in control of? And that's my effort. That's taking the next step. That's trying to be optimistic and maybe, trying to be hopeful. And having those thoughts when you're absolutely sick of it and want to die or want it to end. I just relate really well to that. And I think it'd be super cool to do your program. I think it's cool, man. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
Have you read Viktor Frankl's
Oh yeah, man. That
makes
guy,
me think of that, man.
That guy is the GOAT.
Yeah. Because he talks about how in that concentration camp, people that said they were going to make it to Christmas and then Christmas came and they were still there started dying.
Well, yeah.
And so they were dying of, it wasn't even like suicide. Some of it was suicide in that camp, but they were dying of like mental, physical exhaustion. And it was because of like a reverse psychology around the false finish principle. So he defines that really well in that book. But like if I'm in a concentration camp and it's terrible, we're all starving. And I say, I'm going to fight it out until Christmas and we'll be out of here by Christmas. And then Christmas comes and I'm still there. I, in my own psychology, created my own finish line.
Like now you've given up though.
Yeah. And he said that the people that survived, it was like, this isn't over till it's over mentality. And they wouldn't never put a date on it. And it was one day at a time rather than drawing that line in the sand, being like, this is the finish line.
Which even at first might sound good. Like, if I can make it that long, I gotta be really good.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, it flips on you. Like now you're like, oh, like mentally we've done it, and it flips on you. And like the power of the brain and thoughts are really, really that powerful. And like, man, Viktor Frankl, dude, what's that quote he said? It's basically the 1090 quote, but just better. It's like when everything's stolen from a man, all he has left to decide is how he's gonna react to it, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's basically the 10. And that's, man, I love that whole book and his story so much.
Yeah, the greatest thing that no one can take from us is choosing one's own attitude, regardless of the external circumstances.
You nailed it, dude.
So like no one can mess with our attitude. That's the one thing we have control of.
Like seriously, like the most badass, like he's in a concentration camp and he owns the Nazis with his mind. Like,
Yeah.
fuck you guys. That's just so cool, man. Like,
it's insane.
Yeah, that guy's incredible. And it's just like, well, and I told that story of my brother Race fighting Madison Square Garden. I don't know if you heard that one, but like it's the same. That's the same thought. Like it's the beauty in being defeated, of how you carry yourself in those moments, man. And I think that's life, because we're all gonna die. It's all gonna, like, somebody love's gonna die. It's gonna go bad on you eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to figure out is who you are and how you're gonna respond to it. And it's weird because when people ask me what can I do to prepare for such grief, and I tell them you can't do anything, and I'll stand by that answer. I think that's a fair answer, but also I do think like pushing yourself mentally and doing things that you're doing can obviously help as well. And that's just something I think sports, my dad, my wife, my brother always taught me, is like you have to put all your energy into things that you actually have control over.
Yeah.
If you put your time and energy into things you can't control, which we all do, like how other people think of you, you have zero control. I mean, you have a little, like based on what you say, they're going to react, but like you don't have any control over what people think or are saying about you. And I think I say this a lot on my podcast, but when you lose people you loved, you kind of get that gift of losing that side of being in the rat race or hopping on the hamster wheel or whatever we want to call it. Like you lose that desire because you realize it's relationships that's the most important thing.
Becomes a tiny priority compared to a big one.
That's so cool. Anything else you want to talk about before we get to top 3 favorite movies?
No, I think that was good, man. It was mindset stuff is interesting.
Well, real quick, because I'm terrible at this, but like, where can people find you if they want to sign up? Do you want to just give us a couple quick bullet points of what you offer and how we can find you?
Yeah. So Mountain Tough is a fully native app, so it's available in the App Store, just like any other apps that you have on your phone. You can get it at mountaintough.com, or you can go right into the App Store. Everyone starts on a 14-day free trial, and then when you get in there, you'll see that we're training you holistically, so physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, nutritionally. We always think of it as like a 4-legged bar stool. So if you have like a bar stool and one leg is your physical health, one leg is your mental health, one leg is your spiritual health, and then one leg is your nutritional health. So that those 4 legs are holding up that bar stool, and they need to be strong for me to put weight on it. So if I have that bar stool, I have my 4 legs, I put a 250-pound man on it, he's going to sit down, it's going to hold that weight. But what we see all the time across the board is someone might be really physically strong, but they're really mentally weak, or they're super mentally strong, but they're really like their nutrition is terrible. And so usually if 2 out of the 4 legs or 1 out of the 4 legs or none of the legs are strong, when you put weight on that bar stool, it's going to fall over. It's going to crash to the ground. And weight on the bar stool is like a loss of a loved one. It's a bankruptcy. It's a divorce. It's a financial crisis. It's all these pieces of adversity we're going to run into in our lives. And that's like when that weight comes down, for us to not completely crash, we need to think about how are we taking care of ourselves holistically. And that's what you're going to see when you get in the Mountain Tough app.
That's awesome. I love it. Balance. Gotta have balance. Okay. Anything else before we do movies?
No, let's do it.
Okay, this is Desert Island style, so this is it the rest of your life. These 3 movies.
3 movies the rest of my life. I'll go with my top 3. So my number 1 movie is Legends of the Fall.
Oh, never seen Legends of the Fall.
You haven't?
I haven't.
Oh, it's so good.
What's it about?
So it's the dad is like an old infantry officer from like back in the day with like the US Indian Wars. And then Brad Pitt's one of the sons. And then there's another son, but the dad is like so sick of fighting in the wars, he builds this like big ranch out in Montana.
Oh, hitting close to home for you out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But one son tries to go like the political route and run for governor. And then Brad Pitt, he goes like the mountain man route. He just is like going to hunt, live off the land. And then the brother that goes political gets like all corrupt, and the corruption's starting to affect his dad. And so they have to like come to the dad's place to arrest him. And then they end up getting in this huge fight. And then like the brothers have to save the dad.
I might have to. This sounds
it's
good.
incredible. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen like the whole movie now, though. Kind of, but if it has Brad Pitt in it,
Yeah, it's like young Brad Pitt.
oh, spicy with young Tom or Brad. Okay, I liked. All right, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, that one. There's
Legends of the Fall. Okay,
there's powerful stuff in there. Well, you kind of messed me up with the question because like top movies is different.
I know it is. I'm glad that you understand the difference.
Yeah,
because it is 2 different questions.
Top is way different than you have to watch this the rest of your life.
Right, like you might want to have some balance here.
Yeah, because that one, Legends of the Fall is amazing, but it'll kind of wear you down just because it's heavy. And then my second favorite is A River Runs Through It.
Another Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not obsessed with Brad Pitt. They just happen to be my 2 favorite movies.
Last movie, Fight Club. Brad Pitt.
Dude, Fight Club's good too.
That's hilarious. All right, I've seen that one. Good movie.
That one's good. You got same thing, like one good brother, one bad brother.
Do you have brother issues? You have a brother?
No, I don't even have a brother. Well, then 3 is American Sniper. For some reason, I just love
there it is.
show.
I thought we'd get a couple more of those, but American Sniper's good.
It's good,
brutal, but good.
Well, yeah.
He's a
so
heavy hitter. Well, he does train. He trains men. He makes men cry. What do you think he's watching?
I'd need something on that island, like one that like cheers me up all the time is Office Space.
Oh, Office Space is great.
It's just a good laugh.
I could watch that one a lot. Like, you can just hop in any scene in that movie and be fine.
You probably need that one on the island just for like a bad rainy day.
Yeah. Well, it's fun doing a podcast swap with you. I'm excited to be on yours. Thanks for being on ours. Remember, life's 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it.